Hi guys, I'm Alexandra from largefamilymama.com, and today I'm going to show you really simply how you can start knitting and how you can teach your children to start knitting. I started this knitting series 2 weeks ago, and we started off with finger knitting to really get the basics for preschoolers and get them used to how to get a feel for using their hands and getting used to the tension in the yarn and everything like that. And now we are on to our third lesson, and we are going to be using knitting needles. So we need some knitting needles and some chunky wool, so you will need reasonably thick needles for this project. And at the end of each of my lessons I always show you a project that you can do with your children, because it's always a good idea for them to know that they're doing something practical. And so with this lesson we are going to be making a scarf. Doesn't everybody have to start with a scarf? I mean, it's the classic, isn't it? So let's get started. Right, so the first thing we're going to do is a slip knot. So we're going to make a circle with our yarn, put the tail under the circle, so it's now in the middle of the circle. Get our needle, put it over the edge of the circle here, under the middle bit and over the edge of the circle there. Then we're going to get both these pieces of yarn and gently pull them, and then we're going to slide the knot up to the needle as far as we need it to go. And then we get our other needle and we put it into the loop. We get our yarn and we pull it round so it goes through to the middle of both the needles, and then we hold it against this needle here, and then we're going to push this needle down until we can hook that piece of yarn there onto the needle, and then we're going to slip this loop here onto the left hand needle. So we're going to poke the left needle into the yarn and then pull the other needle out, so we have both stitches on the left needle now. And we're going to do it again. So this time, if you look, this is where we go. We get our needle and we put it in the loop here. Okay. Get the yarn, pull it round to the middle of both the needles, hold it against this needle, and then pull this needle down and try and hook the yarn onto the right hand needle. Then we're going to get it from the right hand needle onto the left needle. So we're going to put it onto the left needle now, and now we've got 3 stitches, and we're going to keep doing that until we have, let's say, 30 stitches. So in, round to the middle, pull it onto the right hand needle, then put that stitch onto the left needle, take the other needle out, and again in, round, through, onto the left needle and off. So in, round, pull it onto the right needle, then put it onto the left needle and pull the other needle out, and just keep repeating. Right, so I'm using really chunky yarn today, so I'm going to stop at 20 stitches, and now I will show you how we can actually start the knitting now we've cast on our 20 stitches here. You may need to cast on more stitches if your yarn is a bit thinner. Now when I teach children how to knit, I usually have them sitting on my lap if they're young, which they usually are when I teach them, so it's a lot easier for them to see what I'm doing. Right, when we start our knitting, we've now got all the cast on stitches on our needle in our left hand, and then in our right hand we've got our other needle, and we put it into the first stitch like so, and then again we put the yarn round just like we did before, pull it onto the right needle, but this time what we're doing is we're going to take that stitch off the left needle, so it's like that, and again we go in, put the yarn round in between the two needles, hold it against the needle on the right, then get the yarn hooked onto the right needle and then take the stitch off the left needle. So now we have 2 on here and 18 on here. So we go in, round, put the needle through and take the stitch off the left needle. So in, round, through, off, in, round, through, off, in, round, through and off. Just keep going like that till you get to the end. Then when you get to the last stitch, do the same again, and then you just take that last stitch off the left hand needle. Just pull that slightly so that's nice and neat. And then we have our 20 stitches on our other needle. Now all we do is we swap hands, so that needle goes into the left hand, and then we're ready to repeat the process again. So in, round, through and off, in, round, through and off, and just like I say, just keep going until you have done enough knitting so it's long enough to be a scarf. And then when we've done that, I will show you how you can add some nice tasseling at the edges to make the scarf look rather pretty. Okay, so when you've finished knitting your scarf as long as you want to make it, then you are ready to cast off. So I'm going to show you how to cast off now, and then after that I'm going to show you how you can add tassels to the edges just to give your scarf some extra detail, or perhaps a bit of extra colour if you want to add another colour on. All you need to do is put your right hand needle into the loop on the left, pull the yarn round to the middle of the needles and hold it onto the right hand needle, push it through, and take the stitch off the left hand needle just as you did before when you were knitting. So we've got one stitch here on the right hand needle and one less stitch on the left hand needle. So we're just going to do that again. And now we have 2 on our right hand needle. And what we want to do now is we want to take the stitch that's furthest away from the point and pull it over the other stitch and off the needle. So we just hook that stitch and pull it over the other stitch and off the needle. And now you've cast off your first stitch, and now we're going to do another one. So we just knit another stitch onto the right hand needle, and then we will pull the one furthest away from the point over the other stitch and off the needle. And we just keep doing that until we've got all the stitches off the left hand needle. So now we have just one stitch left on our right hand needle, and all we do is we trim our yarn, mine's short anyway now, and we just tuck it through the loop and then pull it, and that's nice and secure, and that's your scarf finished, unless you want to add the fringe detail or tassels at the edge, which I shall show you in a second how to do. So now I'm going to add a pop of colour to this scarf with this bright pink, and it's even got sequins in it, this yarn. So we're going to add some tassels. You don't have to do this bit if you don't want to, but I just think it just gives it a bit of extraness. So you want to cut some lengths of your yarn, and you want to cut twice the length that you want the tassel to be. If anything, cut them a little bit longer than you think you might need, because you can always trim them later. So I'm going to say about that long. So we just need to cut lots and lots of pieces of this yarn first, ready to make the tassels. So now I've cut lots of lengths of yarn ready to make the fringe of the scarf, and I've put them into groups of 5. Now I'm going to fold that in half and then push it through where you've got the edge through the first loop here. Then when you've got it part way through, you can make a loop here and then push the edge of the tassel into the loop and then pull it like so, and there's your first piece of fringe. And then you just want to go along, say, every other loop along the edge and add your fringe. And then when you've done the tassels on both edges of the scarf, then you've finished completely. And I think it looks so lovely with this fun pop of colour. Just nice and cheerful for such a dull time of year. So I really hope you enjoyed today's knitting tutorial, and each week I'm going to add a few more skills to our knitting practice. And next week we're going to be learning how to increase and decrease our stitches so that we can actually start to shape the knitting and make different things. So there'll be another project with that as well. So let me know in the comments below how it's going with your learning to knit, and whether you need any more advice or there's something you're not sure about, then let me know. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you again very soon. Bye.